My name is Kent. I will be presenting this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm going to start with a very short PowerPoint slide deck. We'll talk a little bit about the existing situation and how that can be streamlined using Bentley EPR. And then Taylor will talk about the managed services component of our offering. Then I'll get in and do a live demo on the product. There are two main components, two main pieces to the software demonstration. One will be on the applicant or the submitter side, and then we'll switch into the agency or reviewer side to see feature function, the markup tool, overlay compare, and those type of things. So as many of you know, or most of you know, the existing plan review process today are the architects, engineers, contractors, and developers have been using software to draw plans and present their drawings for 25 years. Building and regulatory agencies are a little bit behind that, so they're still one of the only industries that still are so much paper-based. So the plans are created using CAD and BIM software, but at that point they're flattened out and printed. Multiple copies have to be printed for delivery to the agency. Very expensive to print, very time-consuming, hard on the environment with all the paper. The developers then have to deliver the files and the plans to the agency. They either drive or they pay for a courier or they ship them, which is also very expensive. Agency accepts the plans and distributes them to the other departments manually. People call this the sneaker network. In big cities, it's big dollies with huge rolls of plans that get distributed and routed manually. Paper plans are reviewed, marked up manually with a pen or a Sharpie, stamps, so forth. And then all the markups are manually compiled, and an administrator or a plans examiner supervisor has to send all those comments compiled back to the submitter. Submitter updates and resubmits all their stuff using software electronically, very fast and very efficient, and then go through that cycle again. And when it gets approved, typically there are a lot of paper copies that are printed and delivered and distributed. That's kind of the current process today. So what our solution, what our answer to that is to streamline that process. The biggest increase in efficiency is to get rid of all the manual moving of these big paper files. It's time consuming, it's expensive, and it's easy for things to become lost, fall through the cracks, fall out of the workflow, deadlines are missed, and that type of things. So with the electronic plan review process, plans are created using CAD and BIM software. The plans are uploaded directly from the applicant into the system electronically, no printing, no paper. The plan reviews are automatically distributed. They're routed and assigned. Can be either automatic or manual, depending on what your business process dictates. Plans are reviewed and marked up online using the markup software, which I will demonstrate a little bit later. And then all those comments, because they're all done using the same system, they're automatically consolidated. So reviewers can see other reviewers and other departments' comments and markups. And when it comes time to communicate back to the applicant or the submitter, all of that consolidation is done automatically, so they can get one letter, one copy of the marked up file. It reduces the time, number one, because as soon as you finish your review, it's available for other reviewers or the submitter. And again, no printing and no paper. Engineer, developer, architect, engineer can update and resubmit, go through the cycle again, or the plans are approved and accepted, and then the approved plans are also distributed electronically. Now, it's not a perfect world, so at any point in the process, you can print and or download copies of these files, the files that the submitter submitted, the applicant submitted, but you can also publish and print and download the markups, and what we mean by that, the change marks, the review comments that you put on the files. So those can be printed and distributed at any time during the process. So here's a real quick look at a kind of a typical, what we call a workflow, but it's really a process, how these files move through the system. So there's a public portal. That's the first place we'll start with the demonstration, and we'll show how the customers can see their projects, see their approval letters, their decision letters, the markups, the status of their projects, and so forth. They can also submit new files and new plans for new projects online, all in one place, so they can see if they have multiple projects with your agency, they can see them all in one place. We have a configurable workflow. That's what I was talking a little bit earlier about the routing and the assigning. Routing for Bentley typically means the departments that the plans need to be routed to for review and or comment. But then there's a little more granular level in there that you can actually assign it to an individual within a department. So you can route it to a department and then assign it to an individual. That can be done automatically, can be done manually, or it can be done automatically with manual intervention as many projects change course and things change during the course of the project. Communication, automatic emails and notifications are sent back and forth based on events. When the plan review is complete and you send it back to the applicant for revise and resubmittal, they get an email, they can see it when they log into their portal, and vice versa. Once they update their files and resubmit them, you're notified via email that they've resubmitted and it's time to look at it again. Markup Tool, I'll spend probably 15 or 20 minutes on this. This is very, very important piece of electronic plan review. There are PDF viewing tools available, and people are trying them and using them, but they're really designed for marking up documents. They're not really designed to be an engineering level markup tool with measurements and overlay compare differences, lots of different change marks, and all the tools that you need when you're reviewing plans, not just a highlighter. Version control, we keep track of the submittals and the resubmittals as things go back and forth. Everything has a time and date stamp. With the viewer, you can also look at any version, any submittal. So you can look at the first plan that they submitted, then you can look at version 7 and compare those. You can compare version 7 to version 3, version 3 to version 5. It's not just the newest to the last version. So keeping track of the versions is very important to see as things evolve. Components are addressed and taken out of the plan, and then later they're reintroduced. So it's important to keep track of the versions. Dashboard and reporting, there are standard reports that come with the system and some automatic monitoring of performance as far as how many projects this year versus last year, which projects are late, which departments are late, which departments have completed their tasks early, and that type of thing. Paperless, that's the goal, to go completely paperless, but as I mentioned, you can print, and the applicants can also download and print the correspondence that you send back to them as far as the letters, which are in PDF format, and the plan markup, which is a copy of their drawing with the markups on it. They can also download and print that if they want. We support all the browsers, so the applicants and the users can access all of this information and do a lot of their work from a mobile device or a tablet. And then the automatic comment consolidation. This is really a big time saver. This is part of the streamlining. All those comments from all the different departments are consolidated together into one list and one markup file. And it also increases the accuracy because the person doing the final check before it goes out can make sure that there aren't errors, omissions, conflicting comments, and that type of thing. So that's kind of a very typical process. Things come in, and then you get all the way to the end, and either you get an approval letter or a revise and resubmit letter. But those are all the main components, and we will hit all of those in the demonstration today. So from the submittal concurrent review, everybody is looking at the same file at the same time. People aren't downloading a copy and working on it, and then there's another copy submitted by the applicant, and then somebody's looking at a different version of the file. Everybody's looking at it at the same time, and everybody can see everybody else's comments, so they can see what has been asked for and what has been requested. So everybody's synchronized with the same information and the same versions of the drawings at the same time. Records management, we have a very robust capability as far as the security for the system, the documents, the files, the time and date stamp, every event, every note, every comment, every action is tracked at a very granular level. Printing and publishing, I've talked about that a little bit already. The reporting and audit tracking, every event, every version, every upload, every comment, everything is tracked in the system. The time tracking, this is not time tracking like time and attendance. This is time tracking as far as the events in the project, from the time it was uploaded to the time it was routed, assigned, accepted, comments were added, and the time that it was sent back. So by looking at a project, you can see the overall timetable when it was submitted and when it was completed, but you can also look at individual tasks and individual departments. And the accountability also extends to the applicant, because if they submit and you ask for revisions within 2 weeks and it takes them 2 months to get the submittals back and then you review it and comment again in 2 weeks, that wasn't a 3-month process. They weren't waiting for 3 months. You were actually waiting for them for a certain amount of time. So it gives you a very granular level of the entire timeline and basically whose court the ball was in at all times in the project. Project approval, stamping, approvals, distribution, all of those are things, capabilities within the system. So at this point, we're going to get into the managed service offering and the technology behind that. And I'm going to hand it over to Taylor Gilmore, who's the product manager for EPR. He'll talk about this, the technology, because I'm not really smart enough to talk about all that stuff. I'm a feature function person. And then he will hand it back to me for the actual software demonstration.
All right, thanks, Kent. And as Kent said, I'm Taylor Gilmore, the product manager for EPR, and I just wanted to talk quickly about the Bentley Managed Services offering. As Kent described, the electronic plan review product is a web-based product, and when your agency decides to move forward and utilize the EPR product, the product will actually be delivered to you as a website that is unique to your agency, which you can log in and access through any internet browser. But Bentley will actually take care of all of the IT infrastructure and software installation for you as part of our managed service. So you won't have to worry about installing a database or application on your computers or anything like that. We take care of all of that potential hassle and host the application in our cloud. So what that means is that we have a dedicated group of professionals in our managed services department that handles the hosting of the EPR product and many other Bentley hosted, cloud-based hosted applications. We have a secure cloud platform that can provide global coverage. So wherever your particular agency is, we can have local hosting for you. And that hosting environment guarantees 99.9% availability through our service level agreement. It is a highly secured environment. We follow the ISO 27001 standards for cloud security to make sure that all of the data and all the information loaded into that system is safe and secure and not susceptible to hackers or anything like that. Our environment is very scalable and flexible. So depending on how large your agency is, we can scale up or scale down how much you need to be able to use and how fast the system needs to be and how much storage your system needs to have. And we take care of that automatically. That's not something that you have to worry about or think about. Again, that's part of the Bentley Managed Services offering, is that we will take care of all of those hassles that you don't need to worry about it. We do guarantee zero data loss. So, in the event of a disaster or emergency or anything like that, we have failover environments and all of the information backed up and stored so that in the event of an emergency, we have copies and ensure that no data would ever be lost in those situations. And we do have 24/7 support and monitoring on those environments to make sure if anything were to happen that we're notified right away and can address the problem immediately. So again, you don't have to worry about any of the IT infrastructure side. So all of those benefits and features of the Bentley managed service are really about adding benefits to you all as the end users. First of all, we can be much more agile with the software implementation. We can very quickly set up a new implementation, a new electronic plan review site for your specific agency, and we don't have to work with installing the system on your machine. So that allows us to much more quickly set the site up and get it up and running for your needs. It does reduce risk. We adopt all the industry standard methodology for cloud server offerings and incorporate that into our managed services policy so that you know that you're getting industry best standard practices in that. It does streamline the process. It allows us again to be much more agile and deal with all of the IT things without incorporating that into the software delivery plan that we need to be worried with. The availability is definitely improved. As I said, we certify 99.9% uptime with our service level agreements. As far as accountability goes, you can always come back to Bentley for the software and the IT are all managed by us. You don't have to worry about a separate IT department being involved with how your application is performing. We basically take responsibility of the entire delivery of the application, both the IT side as well as the software side. And we also it allows you to very easily stay current with the latest release of electronic plan review so that when a new feature or function is released into the application, you don't need to worry about having that installed on your servers. We can actually have your application updated automatically on our managed services environment without any impact to you. So that is another great benefit of the managed services offering. From the security perspective, as I said, all of our servers and data centers are SOC 2 certified, and we do implement the ISO 27001 standards and make sure that all of our processes are aligned with the Information Technology Infrastructure Library of best practices. And for all of our users, the data is fully backed up. So as I said, all of our recovery time and disaster failover are all industry best practices and of the highest standards. So overall, the Bentley Managed Services offering is it's a great benefit. It allows us to deliver more value to you and allow you to focus on your business needs instead of having to worry about the IT side of the implementation. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Kent for him to do a demonstration of the application.
Okay, thank you, Taylor. Okay, so what I'm going to start with, I'm going to play the role of an applicant or a submitter, basically a customer. I've already logged in, so you don't have to watch me do my login and password. This is the landing page for a customer, or during the course of this demonstration, I'll refer to them as submitter, people who have submitted plans. I'm doing this in Chrome. We support, for the customer side, all the browsers. It's all the latest technology, so it works on everything. And our designers have done a really good job of making this very feature-rich, but it's also very easy for the submitter. We didn't want to have something that required a lot of training and support for all your customers. So as you'll see as we'll go through this, it's very intuitive, minimal amount of buttons, buttons that aren't appropriate for the submitter or the project that they're looking at are grayed out to make sure that they can only do what they really need to do, and they only see what they really need to see. It's not an overly complex interface. So this particular submitter, you can see we have a couple projects here that have already been submitted in various stages along the way, and we'll explore those a little farther as we go. But let's start with the most typical task, submitting a new project. Now, this first landing page, this is the information page. This is an example, and you'll notice there are only a few fields on here, so I don't have to fill out too much stuff. while I'm showing this, but there's a lot of real estate on this page, so you can gather a lot of information and a lot of different data types. There's a drop-down menus. Everything with a red asterisk is a required field, so we'll call this Big Winner. It's a casino. Filling in the fields as we go. Here's another drop-down menu. We do enforce data types. So for the zip code, you'll notice that it has to be the proper format before it will let you submit it. Too many characters or not enough characters, it won't let you do it. And then the parcel number, this can be set with an edit mask depending on your numbering scheme or how you do it. Okay, so that's just an example of a page. This is part of the setup. Every agency, this is one of the pages that we customize and set up with the fields that are needed, with the data types and the validation that you need. So at this point, the system is going to create a new project. It's generating a number. It's looking at the type of project, and because it's a commercial building project, there's a template for the workflow, which is the routing and the assignments. That includes the due dates. So the applicant now has a project number, and at this point there's a couple things they can do. We'll upload a file. One of the first things that people like to do is have a little communication beyond or information beyond that information page. So if the applicant wants to add a note, right, they can add a note. The type will be part of the reporting and routing for it. Okay, I'm just going to add that note, and that'll become available to everybody internally that looks at this project. When they go to that Notes tab, they can see that note. They can also add notes, so there's a stringed conversation that can go on back and forth outside of the standard comments and reviews and that type of thing. So I've added my note. Now I'm going to upload some files. Okay, so you can drag and drop or you can browse, depending on what you like. I'm going to go to my submittal folder, and I've got a plan, I've got a Word document, and a civil. I'm going to pick those, and then you just select Upload, and you'll get a little status bar as it's uploading those files. It's doing a couple checks at this point. It's checking for the data type. We only accept certain file formats. And then we also, you can set the size, how big those files are and what type. Okay. So at this point, the submitter can see the file names, can see that they have been uploaded, and at this point they can come back to this project later and upload some more files, or if they're ready like me, because I'm always totally prepared for everything, I'm going to submit this project for review. There's a little message that you can put up, to a confirmation message. Many agencies put some things in here about once you submit this and accept it, if we route it and do a bunch of work, you're subject to the fees and that type of thing. So you can put whatever type of message. Some people put phone numbers or links to project coordinators or that type of thing. A lot of information you can do for the submitter to make it as easy as possible for them. So they can get a quick status on the files that they've submitted for this project, 2017 number 5. Now, that's their latest project, but they also have some other projects that they've submitted earlier. You'll notice this little green bar, and when you come all the way over to the right, you can see the status is that this project was approved as submitted. They have some actions. They can archive or download that. But they also have a pencil, because now that this project is approved, if they wanted to add or change something, they could, instead of creating a completely separate project, which would create some tracking issues, they can create an addendum, which will link this process to the previous process, but it'll route the addendum around and go through the process for the addendum for approvals and that type of thing. So you'll notice that those controls only show up for certain projects. I'm going to go to number 3 because I know there are quite a few records on this one. So the first thing you'll notice are the tabs across the top for the project itself. There are files. These are things that were submitted by the applicant. There are supporting files, which are files that were uploaded by the agency to help the submitter. They're not application files. So here's one called file naming. Okay, we'll download that file. One of the things is to streamline these processes, you don't want to explain the same thing over and over and over to people. Sometimes it's nice to provide a detail. It says, look, this is the standard detail for driveway approach. Okay, so one of the things that's very common is that the agency will send some type of information back to the submitter about how they should name the files that they're submitting. So this is just an example of something that the agency loaded into the project for the submitter. These are not the files that were submitted for review. That's why there's a tab for files, supporting files. There's a notes tab. Okay, we see a note from the submitter about their Title 24 energy calculations and that type of thing. So the applicant themselves, when they look at these projects, they can see the files they've submitted, supporting files that the agency has sent back, some information about the project. That's that first page that we filled out, and they can also see the notes. So from the submitter side, and you'll see as we go along, we're actually going to reject one of these projects and send it back to the submitter. And at that point, the bar turns red, status says revise and resubmit. Then the submitter will go through the process of uploading revised files, and it's on a file-by-file basis. So if there are 8 files that have been submitted, you only need them to revise 2. When you send it back, they can see there are only 2 files that need to be revised. They upload those, hit resubmit, and it comes back into the review cycle on your side. So we'll come back to the applicant page in a little bit as we shift gears. Now we're going to go into the reviewer side, or to the agency side, to see what are the tools that are available, how do those projects get routed and assigned and marked up and sent back. So at this point, I'm going to switch gears now, and now I'm going to go in. You'll notice I'm logged in as a reviewer. This is my landing page. And the roles within the system, typically a person has a role, could be support staff, supervisor, plan reviewer, electrical plan reviewer, historical commission, state agency, a lot of different roles. So the way the tabs are laid out for the individual users, I'm logged in as this very specific person. So the first tab, My Tasks, these are things, this is a task for a project that's assigned directly to me. Okay. My projects lists all the projects that I'm a team member on. And you'll notice I'm on Project 4 and Project 3. I only have a task on Project 4. But if I want to go look at Project 3, if I get a phone call or for some reason I need to look at it, I can access all the projects that I'm assigned to. The group tasks lists all the tasks for my group. I'm in the building group. If you're in engineering, you see all the stuff for engineering. So you'll see there are some tasks here that are not assigned to me. They're assigned to somebody else. I'm building. They're assigned to the support staff, but they're still in my same group. Active projects, these are all the projects that are in the review process. Once you approve it, it goes into the All Projects tab. If you ask for a revision and resubmittal, it goes back to the applicant, and it doesn't show up under the active projects. If you go to All Projects, you can see everything in the system. Okay. Reports, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to run these reports. We'll be happy to be able to send you the list and some examples. There are 2 main parts, or about 16 reports that come with the system. Some are site-wide, and this is where you can do some of your performance monitoring. because it's going to look at everything you have in your site, projects by type, projects by status. If you want to get a snapshot today, show me all the active projects and then sort them by status so I can see where are we waiting for developers, where are we waiting for the fire department, those type of things. Late task by department. Managers love that. Nobody else really likes that one, but it's important to have it. So those are the site-wide reports, and then there are also reports within a project. So if you're looking at a specific project, you can run reports against that too. The resource tab, we have a little marketing blurb on there. Typically when we set this up for a customer, we embed the links or the documents that this person would need to do their job so they don't have to log out, log in, navigate, and do a lot of things to find the things that they need. So example, here's a link. If I click on this link, it'll take me to a page. Bentley systems. Obviously, you guys know all about Bentley. We don't need to do that. So that's kind of the basic landing page for a reviewer. So if I'm going to go back and try to get some work done today, I can adjust the settings for my page, kind of personalize it, what things I want to see, can arrange the columns, sort by column, that type of thing. I'm going to select this specific task because this is assigned to me and it's a very specific task that I need to do. So I get some basic information about this task, the project status, it's been accepted by a person. That's me, lead Bentley. My skill is the building review, plan start, actual start, and that type of thing. These dates are set up during the implementation of the system, whatever your target dates are. We track the planned start, planned end, and then the actual, because sometimes those things are different. So at this point, if this is very easy and I've already done it, I can just click complete, comes off my task, and I'm done. I can also, this is part of the manual intervention in the workflow, if I see something in this project or these plans that needs to be reviewed by someone or a department that's not part of the standard process, I can assign that right here so that it will now alter the routing and send it to somebody else. Supporting files, if I wanted to, we saw that earlier on the applicant side, what that looks like. This is where I could upload. And you guys have seen how easy it is to upload. I won't spend a bunch of time on that. But I could upload standard details, reports, TIFF, GIF, JPEG, the very, very common stuff. I can add a note to this project that the submitter could see. Then I can also, if I look at the related work tasks, this is basically the workflow for this project. So if I want to go into a project really quickly and see what is the standard routing, what has been completed, and who is it assigned to, we can see the task name. These are done in order. Initiate the project. That was done by the submitter, date and time, uploaded the files, because those are two separate things. Sometimes people start a project, but they don't, because they want to get their place in line, but they don't actually upload the files till later. I can determine when you start the clock. The next task for the agency was check that submittal for completeness and route it for review. That's typically the same step, very similar to what happens at the counter when somebody comes in with a big pile of papers and fills out a bunch of forms. Somebody looks at that and makes sure that it's complete and that it's accurate and that you're ready to route it around and spend resources to look at it. The next thing is, and I did a very simple routing on this project because it's a demonstration. I didn't want to have to sign off 30 events. But you can see the building task has been accepted, who it's assigned to, date and time. Now, these are the other steps that are forthcoming, like Consolidate Reviews. That's a required step. It's unassigned, and it's not going to happen until all the reviews are completed, whether they're asking for a revision and a resubmittal or accepting it. All the reviews in the process have to be completed before we get to this step. But this is just letting you know what's been done and what needs to be done before this is completely finished. Okay, so from this task, one of the most common things, and I know we're going very quickly and at a very high level, but that's just a little bit about the navigation and some of the workflow as far as the routing and the assignments. how those things happen and how they show up in your to-do list, and then how you can find them if they're not in your to-do list. So I'm going to go back to project number 3 because it has a lot of records. When you go to the Files section, you can see all the files from this project. They have not been reviewed, no markups, no revisions, none of that type of thing. So in the best of all worlds, you could select this and everything was fine, and you could just update the status and say, I accept this site plan. That's good to go. I could come down here to the agreement. I'll show you the reviewing tool in a second. You say, well, the agreement, no, there's all kinds of problems with that. I'm going to update the status on that. I'm not going to approve it. I'm going to ask for a revision and resubmittal. So the status is at a file-by-file basis. If somebody turns in 100 pages, you may accept some and not accept others. For streamlining and system performance, if you only need 3 pages revised, you only mark those, you only send those back, and the applicant only uploads those 3 files. They don't upload and move the whole 100-file package every time. That gets confusing. It's also a bandwidth killer, and there's really no need for it. So that's why we go file by file. And you'll also notice that some of these have an A on them and a B. So this submitter has turned in some alternate plans. Well, here's the floor plan, but here's floor plan A. So we may have to compare those and see which one's which and which one we want to accept. But you can see all of the files in the system. So let's start with this one file. And we're not going to review this, update the status. We're going to review it. So now we're moving from the reviewer navigating the EPR system to we're going into the Markup Tool. And we're going to, as I mentioned earlier, this is an engineering level tool. This is much more robust than Adobe or some of these other products that will do PDF markups. So the first thing that happens when you see the file, you'll see up at the top there are some controls. There's some basic stuff at the bottom as far as managing the view. You can rotate it, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and that type of thing. So I've done this a few times, so I know where I want to go on this plan. I know where the issues are. So I can zoom into this particular file, look at the particular issues, zoom, pan, do all those things. A couple other things, when people are moving from a full-sized plan to something on a monitor, it's change. So they want things a little, they need some additional tools because it's different. So by looking at this plan, I can see there are a couple different bathrooms and a couple different stairs. If I use the magnifier, this little tool here, I can go around and zoom in on particular items, but I know where I am on the plan. This is just how you would do it in real life on paper. So if I go in and look at this bathroom, I know I'm looking at this bathroom in this part of the plan. If I come over here, I know I'm looking at stalls, but I know it's at a different place on the plan. You can alter that view. You can zoom in and out within the window. These are the type of things that help when users are learning something new, going from paper to electronic. There are a lot of tools in here that will help them navigate, save the view, save part of it as a JPEG. They can attach that to an email, send it to the applicant, and that type of thing. So the collaboration and the communication is much easier, much faster, and much more accurate. So I've looked at that plan, panned around. I've got some comments I want to make, so I go up to the top to the annotate. And when you do that, on the left-hand side, you'll get a toolbar full of nifty plan review tools. I can't go through every individual one because there are so many. This is designed to replace all the tools that you would have on your big drafting table when you're doing the plan reviews. Highlighters, change marks, measuring tools. You can measure a polyline, a polygon, an arc, an area. You can insert images. You can insert hyperlinks. You can do a lot of things on this drawing similar to what you do on paper, but you can also do a lot of stuff that's much more advanced than you could do on paper. So for an example, I'll just show how easy this is to do. I'm going to add a change mark cloud, and I'm going to say something about this landing. You'll notice it comes up in a color. Different users and different departments can have different colors. So this is automatically going to number it for me. I'm just going to add landing. I don't like to type, so most comments will be a little more robust than that. I'll move this over here so you can see the landing. Save that. Okay. It's going to ask for a name so we can keep track of who did this and when. Now you'll notice as I'm doing this, on the right-hand side there's a preview panel that's going to have a running tab because we have two things. We have the graphic, we have the plan with the markup, but we also have tabular data that will be incorporated into the letters, into the PDFs that we publish for the applicant to download, share with their subcontractors and that type of thing. So every comment gets a change mark. Now, the other thing that you can do, there is great measuring capability. You can measure lines, distance, area, angles, lots and lots of stuff. You can also publish. And what publish means, we never alter the source file, what the submitter has given us or turned in. What we're going to publish is a copy of this PDF with the change mark layer, which is an XML layer, on top of it. And that way, when the applicant goes to download it or look at it, what they're seeing is a copy. They're seeing a published version. So if I say I want to publish this to PDF, I can do that. I'll show that. You can also save the current view as a JPEG. So if I just wanted to take a little snapshot of my view and then send it to someone via email, I could do that too so they could see what I'm talking about as opposed to trying to describe it. So when you go to publish, there are some controls about how you want your PDF to turn out. We want to burn in the markups because we don't want the submitter or applicant to be able to lift them off and move them around. Okay, we're going to insert the markup as PDF comments so we can see those. I'm just going to say publish. Now that we've published this in this project, when we make it available, the submitter will be able to see this file in this view. So I'm going to go back to the reviewer. Boy, the time is really going by. One of the other things there are a lot of really nice things about the viewer. One of the really nice capabilities is the ability to do overlay and compare. So I'm going to select two files, and you'll notice once I select two, compare feature lights up. So what this is going to do is going to publish two copies of those files for me to look at and work with. And you can compare, like I said, anyone to anyone, any version to any version you select. It's going to pull up both of them. Now we're in the same viewer. It's going to publish both of them. You'll notice up here in the gray bar, it will tell you which two files you're looking at, because looking at the screen, it's kind of hard to tell which one's which. When you zoom or go in on one file, it does the same navigation on both. So I know I've got a problem area here, so I'm going to zoom in. You can see these plans are slightly different. Okay, so I can see that side by side. That's nice. I can go back up to the full page. One of the things that really streamlines this process is I have a version 1 and a version 2. To do this on paper and try to find all the things that I asked the applicant to change, that's pretty easy. I go to the markup file, I look at the stuff that I asked them to change, and I look at the resubmitted file. But what frequently happens, this is why we have overlay compare, is that a lot of things are changed between the two drawings that I did not ask for, and that would be incredibly difficult to find on comparing one piece of paper to another piece of paper. So what you'll see here on your screen, everything that's green is exactly the same on both drawings. Everything that's gray, is exactly the same. Everything that's green, all this green stuff all the way around this casino floor plan, that's all new. That's been added to the revision, to the second submittal, which is interesting because it substantially changes this whole project. The other thing is the red items are missing. They were on version 1, but they're not on version 2. Okay. So when we go to look at this, notice, wow, that's interesting over here, which I didn't even ask them about. They've removed a column. And over here, where we had the issue, they rotated the column. You can slide back and forth between the original and the resubmittal. You can see they rotated that column 90 degrees, but they also moved it off the center line, and I guess for good measure, they added another one. That may or may not fix the problem, but it's very easy to see what's new and what's been added. This yellow area means it's been changed slightly, and that probably just means that it's moved a little bit on the page. But the color coding makes it very easy and accurate to determine what's new, what's missing. And the same thing as this publish, save current view as a JPEG, print that out and send it to the architect, say, substantial change, we're going to have to start all over, or whatever your decision is. It's much easier to make that decision, and it's much faster when you have the overlay compare. You can also just look at the one drawing. I'm down here at the bottom. Then I can just look at the other drawing. So everything you can do with paper, you can basically do it with this. It does give you all the tools and allow you to do all that stuff. The capability on this is top level. I mean, I just don't have time to show you everything, but it does a lot of things that you need as far as the layering, the versioning, the comparing, the publishing, the printing, all the different types of markups, all those different things that you need to do a first-rate electronic plan review are provided with this tool. So I'm going to go back to the reviewer. So my task, this building review, I'll have looked at the files and I've done my markups and that type of thing. I can complete this task. It's going to take it off of my to-do list. It's going to kick the next step off on the workflow. This thing's going to progress to either the next department or the next step, depending on what needs to be done. I think let me see, I'm going to take a little bit more time here. I'm trying to stay at an hour. But I'm going to go back to the submitter side. Okay, so now we're back on the submitter side. If I go look at this project number 3, and I look at all the files that I have in that project, I can see they're all submitted and ready to be reviewed. This is the second time around. I can also cancel. So if something happens, I get a bad fee estimate or whatever it may be, the applicant can also cancel these projects, which will withdraw it from the workflow and prevent you from doing a bunch of work on a project that they don't really want to do. So that, again, that's very high level and very fast, but we started with the submitter, submitting a new project, uploading the files, looking at some existing projects, and then we went to the reviewer or the agency side to see some of the workflow and some of the reviewing tool. Typically, it takes about an hour and a half just to demonstrate the review and markup tool by itself because it's very, very feature rich. I think for the sake of time at this point, we'll go back to Lisa and Taylor, who will help out with some questions and answers.